There we go. I saw it. Now you can hear us. It's working. All right, let's try this again. Welcome to the Relationshiping Show. We're here each and every week on Friday at 8 ish p.m. Central Time. It's hosted by LaDonna Raeh and
Lorenzo T. Hughes.
welcome to the show. Welcome. Now, you guys can give us a call live. That's the difference between this podcast and others. You can call 312-357-5141 and get heard right here, right now. Don't forget to dial that number, and you can share the show if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. Make sure you share it with someone who can handle it. Relationships are all kinds of things. It could be a situationship, which we talked about last week. It can be a relationship about love. Lorenzo, what other kind of relationships?
Oh man, there's it could be friendship, father son, father daughter. It could be. I
Neighbors?
hate to. Yeah, it could be neighbors. Yeah, it could be that whole gambit of relationships.
Yeah. So
What
no
we talked
matter,
about last week was it situationship?
yeah, I think we did talk
I
about
mean, that's a type of
situationship.
relationship, I guess.
Well, it is. That's why but it's a situational relationship.
Mm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Be careful, guys. Be careful with that one. Um, so I wanted to basically give you guys an introduction to what relationships look like. But don't forget to give us a call 312-357-5141. Let me see if we have any callers so far. Let's see. Nope, not yet. All right, good, good, good. Okay, because you guys will come
Um,
in when we get it hot.
did you send me the? Can you send me the link?
I could do that. Hold on, let me do that right now. Okay, so if you guys need the link, then you can go to LaDonna Ray Show and you'll see under live, like what I'm doing right now. And you can click on the three dots next to the live show that says, "Are accomplished Black women still being penalized in dating?" Copy that link, like I'm doing, and I'm going to send it to Lorenzo because I probably should have done that already. Don't be mad.
Let's see. And you said,
There you go. Sent. Did you get it?
go to LaDonna Ray show.
Yeah, go to LaDonna Ray Show, go to live. I already sent you the link though. And when you go to live, you're going to go to the very first one that says, "Are accomplished Black women still being penalized in dating?" Yep. So are they, is the question. Are they being penalized in dating? And I don't know, tonight's conversation can go where a lot of people whisper. Um because they don't say these things out loud. They it's necessary to unpack the idea of success mismatch
Mhm.
and asking the real questions. Does a woman's education or income or independence shrink her dating options? Or does it expose deeper issues around insecurity, power, and emotional maturity? That's a heavy one because
Yeah.
how often do you see women lead with their accomplishments when trying to date? Cuz you can answer this. I don't think I've ever been one to do that. But you've had more experience being a man
Well,
cuz we're talking about high achieving Black women who feel pressure to dim their light to men who admit they feel intimidated or left behind. Does that happen?
is that a question for me?
Yeah, yeah. What is your experience with?
Do women? I can't speak from the perspective of women. Do they feel like they have to dim their light? Um, I would say no. I think that's the perception that they have, and I say that because most the average man in many cases are, I would say that in many cases we're minimalists. You rarely find men falling under the banner of materialistic. Uh, do the materialistic men exist? Yes, I do believe they do exist. But we enjoy simplicity, if I could use that term. Now, if money is available, I think we as men we enjoy the freedom of being able to move around and have things when we desire them. But as far as um, having access to wealth for the sole purpose of buying things that are not needed or having things that will not be utilized or to to fit under a status quo or to look like something that we're not. I've never really had a chance of experiencing that. Like I said, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but I can't speak on that male perspective because I've never been there or been that way, or no one in my circle has been. I've just never been around materialistic men or men who uh, buy things to uh, look like something that they're not.
Well, wait, I want to go back
But I do know it
to
exists.
the question is, do you have you ever experienced a woman who felt the need to lead?
Oh yes, yes,
Okay,
yes,
with
yes.
her business, her promotion, her
Yeah,
education. Yeah.
yeah. It's annoying.
Mm.
It's a very annoying situation, if I could call it that, because and I can't, like I said, I can't speak for all men, but I'm not aware of or been around men who date for the sole purpose of a woman's finances. I From what I understand, that there are men that do that, but you know, I, we tend to date for just the sole purpose of the companionship and peace. Uh, I think sometimes uh, money, status, and things like that brings chaos along with it. Um, I know we have those groups of people out there that want to fit inside of a certain type of lifestyle or fit in with certain types of groups of people. But and that lead with education and money, because they desire to look a certain way in the public eye. But I've been there. It to me it was unpleasant.
Yeah.
It was unpleasant.
Well, I tell you what, when a black woman levels up, whether it be financially, even intellectually or spiritually, eh, the dating pool can possibly get smaller.
Hmm.
Um, and because of this, it makes it more difficult when a woman says, "I can't find a good man." It could be because of the way she's presenting herself. Somewhere along the way, success stopped being sexy and started being intimidating for some men, especially when the woman is leading with it. I think about Shannon Sharp and his situation with, even though he's a man, his situation with the young lady that well took him to court,
Hmm.
and filed a civil suit where she got, I believe, $50 million or close to it. And many people say that she didn't know who Shannon Sharp was, so he felt the need to let her know who he was, and he essentially ended up leading with who he was. So I don't believe for a minute that she didn't know, because the younger generation uses Google as a background check, number 1. Number 2, uh to take on to lead with everything that you have done and you've accomplished, you bring a sense of you bring some type of arrogance to the table. So you're really shifting things to shape into whatever outcome you end up with. So for women, when we tend to lead with everything that we've done, sometimes I think about, is that what we feel that we have to offer? Is that all we feel we have to offer? Like some men, I talked to my brother today. He said he met a woman from Alabama and she baked him a cake. He also told me that she lives in the South Loop. So I'm in my head, I'm going, well, South Loop is not cheap, but she baked him a cake. So he was excited about the cake, not her address.
Uh-huh. Well, if you're leading with, first of all, if you're leading with finances, money, like you asked the question, uh, you asked the question, and it's something about that question really stood out is when you said women are asking or looking for, I guess asking or looking, wondering where the good men are,
Mm-hmm.
and I hear that term a lot. Uh, to answer that question and to try to jump back on topic is, where are all the good men? Number one, they're probably already taken. You know, they're probably already taken. Uh, Good women who find good men usually do what it takes to keep or maintain that good man. Um, because you can't say that there's a shortage of men, or we look at the black male to black female ratio and we talk about that, but we expect good men to just be walking around available, and there's the numbers are disproportionate.
That's a good
So
point.
when you say where are the good men, good women don't let good men, just sit around, especially if they're looking for each other. Um, then you got to ask yourself this question. If you are a bad woman and you're looking for a good man, you're probably always going to be looking for one. I mean, it just only makes sense. I've known women who I've watched the way they treat men. I mean, like if and they're it's funny how a good man or a bad man or a bad woman is always looking for somebody good. I remember making a comment some years ago. I'm like, if you are a bad person, you should just continue to date bad people,
Dang.
another bad person. Because I say that to say this: if when you have good people out there, the last thing you want is for a good person to meet a bad person, because you don't want that good person being taken advantage of, mistreated, or done wrong because they're good people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when to get back on topic, you have to look at, okay, if I'm somebody that leads with my finances, I lead with my education. You need to find that type of person that likes that. You need to find someone that likes that and or does the same thing. But from what I've seen is when you have somebody that leads with that, then you got to ask yourself, who is that person outside of the degree and outside of the
Mm-hmm.
money? Who are they, or who are you outside of your education and outside of your money? Who are you? If your education and your money defines you, that that in itself says something.
Well, let's talk about expectations,
Uh-huh.
insecurities, economics, ego, even emotional security
Mhm.
or maturity, I should say.
Right.
Who feels threatened? So you mentioned that a good woman finds a good man, or a good man is already taken.
Mhm.
Then you have bad women out there looking for a good man. That was hilarious to me because you think about it, that happens a lot, and all they end up doing is possibly poisoning that good man into, and almost turning or transitioning him into a bad one, if he lets her.
Yeah, and
And I think about who feels threatened. Like if someone is, if an accomplished woman is leading with her accomplishments, then does she feel threatened that she feels the need to lead with that? or does he feel threatened because she led with that? That
Well,
that can go either way.
uh,
In short.
that's a good point. Why would you feel threatened? I think when you feel threatened about something, I mean, you're lacking somewhere. I believe there's you're lacking somewhere, or you personally are lacking somewhere, or you personally are missing something. If you have to lead with something other than who you are, if you have to lead with how many degrees or certificates that you've received, or if you have to lead with your money, I think your intentions outside of that are not good. If you have to lead with that, you should
Mm.
be able to lead with who you are. If you are a good person, you should be able to lead with that. Everything outside of who you are is a bonus.
Yeah, but what if you feel unseen? What if you feel like this is going to open some eyes? And maybe in my previous relationship or encounter, I felt like no one appreciated all the good stuff or all the accomplishments that I've had. And I felt unseen. So now I'm going to start off and try to get that attention from the new person.
Okay, who cares about your accomplishments? I mean, what are you doing with your accomplishments? Like, when you say accomplishments, what are we talking about?
Well, all the things that I mentioned, your intellect or sorry, your intellectual accomplishments, your education, your financial accomplishments,
Okay,
things of that nature.
so if you have a background in higher education, I take it that you've probably got a decent job somewhere. So how do they treat you on your job? That's what you should be worried about, because that's what you got the education for, is to get a job,
Mm.
all right, or start a business. You know, what's your business looking like? Your education or your doctorate has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me. Your higher education has nothing to do with me, because chances are I'm probably not going to be working in your office or working at the same job as you. It's your degree is probably not going to get me a job as well. I can't use it. You know, if I apply for a job somewhere, I can't say, "Hey, well, I'm dating or married to such and such who has a doc." None of that is going to benefit me in the outside world. So it has nothing to do with me. So if you're not appreciated on your job, that has nothing to do with me. The fact that I'm even dating you or taking you out on a date or with you should say enough,
Mm.
right? That's just that the fact that I chose you should say enough. So, leading with your education is one thing, and it's like if you lead with that, and I say, "Ooh, well, she has good money," and that becomes what I'm attracted to. You can't use that as a weapon later and say, well, you just with me for the money. Well, that's what you led with.
Dang. All right. So, what is
I
success
mean,
mismatch to you? What is it really? What is a success mismatch?
a success mismatch.
Yeah. So let's say
Well,
one person in the relationship is very successful and the other person is not as successful. Well, I think that's the success
that
mismatch.
would be the success mismatch would be, I guess, the amount of income that's brought in to the relationship unit, um and what the two people are looking for in that relationship. It's like if we met, and I live in a one or two bedroom ranch style home, and you live in a four or five bedroom, you know, mansion, and we see these things, and a lot of times you can see this based on some of the material things that we have. Like, if we know this and we're comfortable with that, and you choose to move forward, you have to make the choice on what you want to do, and that's up to the couple. I don't see a mismatch. I wouldn't call it a mismatch if two people are enjoying each other.
Hmm.
There's always going to be a degree of mismatching. You might have somebody who uh, owns a sanitation company, and you might have someone who is at the top of their law firm. Two different professions, but they both could be making decent money. You, it's obvious that someone's going to be bringing in less income, and somebody's going to be bringing in more income, and that's a mismatch. Two different. It's mismatched because it's two different professions, two different amounts of income.
Mm. Now, there's also an emotional intelligence gap. So, if you have someone who is more emotionally intelligent than the other, then it might create some silent resentment. There's stuff that comes with these mismatched or mismatches. And I hear what you're saying cuz I want to talk to you instead of interviewing you.
That's
If
do you feel
if
like I'm being interviewed?
right,
God,
I just realized that, if we bring it more as a conversation, then it would be a little bit more to unpack because there's so much underneath all of this. If you think about it, like I hear what you're saying about if a couple is enjoying one another, then it shouldn't matter. But there's so many people out there that are not secure with themselves that they make it matter. It shouldn't matter, but they make it matter. And
and
I don't know if that comes from being ignored or neglected, PTSD from prior or all of the above, from prior relationships, including growing up as a kid, feeling like you were always ignored. All of those things, they're usually called baggage. So if that baggage was brought along with you in the relationship, then or in the opportunity to even have a relationship, you might lead with those things because you don't know how to just let it breathe.
mhm,
I hear what you're saying. You say it doesn't have anything to do with me. What you did, what you accomplished, that's good. That's good for you. But when we come together, are we able to enjoy one another? Or are we always going to have in the back of our heads what you led with?
mhm, mhm. I mean, that's something you'd really want to just kind of throw on the table. I mean, anybody out there listening, I mean, chime in. I mean, and I think sometimes you have to be honest with yourself, and that's something that I think many of us do not want to do. And when I say be honest with ourselves, I mean, are we carrying baggage?
Hmm.
And I mean, are you carrying baggage? I mean, are the things that you require of a person unnecessary? I mean, and I don't think people want to answer that question because if you answer that question honestly, you'll find out that in many cases you're the problem.
Mm.
Um, I don't see any reason why you would have to in any relationship why you would have to lead with all of your accomplishments and how much money you make unless your intent is not good.
Hmm.
Um, because it I when it's funny, Carl, when you talk about baggage because I think everybody has some type of baggage or some degree of psychological disorder going on
And the
because
older you are, the more of it you
it
got.
it sounds bad to say that, but there are some things that we do that really is a psychological disorder that you have going on. And I think in one of our previous conversations, the question was, somewhere in the conversations was, should you be dating right now? I mean,
Hmm.
should you
Hmm.
date if you have, something going on mentally?
Mm.
Like, you know, I- it could be anything where you're if because I see when you lead with accomplishments or somebody is not as educated or doesn't make enough money, you know, I see the door for a verbal abuse at some point
Yeah.
for some reason. If that's what you're if you're the type of person that lead with just those things all the time, is that if that's what makes you feel human, that's what makes you feel like you have a place in the world is your accomplishments and your money, then it's like it's like the person that starts reading the Bible and goes to church, and the first thing they want to do is demonize someone else. You know, you a sinner. You know, all of a sudden, all of a sudden, everybody around them is a sinner, and they want to quote a scripture. You know that insults you specifically. You
Mm-hmm.
know, as now, in the last 6 months, they done became a saint now. It
Right.
so
And you know their past life.
right. And so you got the person who gets all these accomplishments. Now everybody around them is uneducated,
Mm-hmm.
and broke and beneath them and all this other stuff. As if those people tend to forget. I think the term that we've always used, where that we forget where we came from and forget who we were
Yeah.
and things like that. You become a different person if, and usually it's someone that you actually are not. And I think that's the deception. When you lead a relationship with a lie, meaning you're leading with who you're not or perception, then it's doomed for failure.
Yeah.
It's deemed for failure.
Yeah. It's not, there's no real structural foundation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Well,
So
I was wondering if accomplished black women are looked at as being too much or just too honest. Because if you think about it, I've said many times that when a woman feels confident, she walks differently.
mm,
And part of that walk can be she speaks differently, carries herself differently. And if you feel like your bank account is um above average, you feel like your education is on point and where you live, everything reflects a level of success, you might carry yourself in a different manner. But I often think about this. What if all that were taken away? Like,
mm,
you know, you've heard it, more than 300,000 black women, I know, but I'm going to say it again, lost their jobs.
mm,
And these are ones I think about.
uh,
More than 300,000 black women lost their jobs. The majority of them were head of household. Some of them weren't.
mm,
But did they carry themselves? Did they run their relationships or ruin their relationship? Put an I in there. Based on the accomplishments that they had made being on that job for 10, 20, 15, 30 years. And now it's all gone. Now they end
well,
up on the unemployment line. And let me just give you the snowball effect. When you lose your job, you lose your income, you lose the ability to make choices. And some of those choices are where you live, what you drive, how you get there, where your kids go to school.
mm,
You're no longer part of those clubs if you did not save abundantly. And unfortunately, that $1.7 trillion dollars that black people put into the economy, it's not coming out of savings, okay?
mm,
It's liquid cash that's being put into the economy, and that shows that it's not being saved apparently. So if those 300,000 women lost their jobs, and let's say a small percentage of them are single or looking or were thinking about getting into a relationship, I wonder if their walk changed.
well,
What do you think?
y- yeah, I believe their walk, you know, changed to a degree, but you know, you said some interesting things that made me think. You said you gave the number of women who lost their jobs. Um, I think what we forget sometimes with we get this education, this higher education, and we really forget and don't really know what that is. And it's sad that that as a culture, we've let the colonized education system draw a wedge between us as a culture and as men and women as we are talking about having a relationship. And this is whether we're having an intimate relationship or just a platonic relationship, a friendship, or whatever. When you're leading with education, your education really was meant for you to work for someone. It to go get this education so you can get a job, to work for someone, to build someone else's wealth. That education, this is the crazy thing about higher education. This is if you got somebody that's leading with it.
Hmm.
In higher education, you you for the most part have been, I don't want do I want to say indoctrinated, uh because people get these higher education, they totally forget who they are.
Yeah.
They are totally stripped of who they are. You have a person with a master's degree or a PhD or a doctorate and get all this education, and they don't know who they are as a man or a woman, or as a black man or black woman. They come out of all this education and know nothing culturally about themselves. And I never understood that. How can you read all these books, write all these papers, and you don't know anything about you?
Mm.
You personally, you don't know anything about you that you could take and utilize in teaching your children about who they are, or your spouse or domestic partner about themselves. You know nothing about who you are. But what you do know, you know about that other culture
Yeah.
and who they are, where they came from, and how to generate them wealth. After you finish that, you get that certificate, that master's
Well, that's because
degree from
that's
your
what we
master.
were taught. Yeah, that's what we were taught. That is all the way to graduation, number one, number two, number three.
And
All graduations, if you look back at all the education that we were presented with, it was so that we would have more knowledge about how to be a part of, not run the system, but be a part of the
yeah,
system.
yeah.
Okay. So that we can help the system to make the wealthy even more wealthy. We have a
So,
comment actually. Brian Stanley, thank you so much for joining us. Brian
hey, Brian.
Stanley says, many times you'll find that couples balance each other out from financial, emotional, and spiritual.
Hmm.
Yeah, many different ways, not just
They,
financial. And he also said, I'm just going to put that up there. Those are the extreme examples.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Thanks, Brian. You can call in too. No problem.
um,
312 357 5141. And it looks like we do have a
and
caller. We got a caller.
and I agree with Brian. I think it all boils back, and it brings us back to how do we choose? How do we choose? Because see, if there's a disproportion in numbers, especially when we talk about dating and relationships, somebody's going to be without somebody. I mean, especially if you're talking about good men, like all the apples ain't good, but somebody's already purchased it or took that apple. Somebody, when you say where all the good apples at, they probably already
Yeah.
purchased.
Oh, yeah. All right, caller 7912. What you got for us? You're live on the Relationshiping Show.
LaDonna Lorenzo.
Yes, yes, sir.
Hey,
Yes.
hey, man, love this show, man. One thing we got to be careful. We don't want to just totally dismiss the attainment of higher education.
Hmm.
I mean, and you can go. Most people that I know, the most successful people who go into the trades. But I'm proud. My son does have a PhD, and his wife is a PhD in nursing. But he's culturally sound. So we don't want to just dismiss because knowledge is helpful. So you have to do something. And so I just want to say, let's not just assume that everybody that attains excellent in education, and not see, it's not excellent education, it's knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. I do appreciate the education I've had. I can pick up a Wall Street Journal and whatever newspaper and understand what's going on in the world. So uh, that's. I just want to say we don't want to just dismiss because there are a lot of young black people at black colleges that are trying to get educated and who may not go and work in corporate America. But the majority of black entrepreneurs, you have to have some education. So I
Well,
just
Ron,
wanted to say
Ron,
that.
I
Hmm.
was just I wanted you to finish, but there's no dismissal of education. There's
Oh no,
just
not at all.
there is a
Okay,
there right no
okay,
there is a recollect. Well, let me just be honest. It depends on what you do with your education more so than anything.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to school, graduate, get your master's or your doctorate, the problem with some of the accomplished individuals is that they lead with that. They lead with this is what I have, so I'm expecting my Prince Charming to be just as, if not more, educated than I am, and they miss out on an opportunity to be in a great relationship. Now, if you're leading with that, because I'll tell you a personal story. I don't have my master's, okay? Um, but a friend of mine, I knew her when she had. In fact, I don't even think, I think she had her associates when I met her. She went on to get her bachelor's, and we celebrated. Once she
Hmm.
got her master's, she completely turned a 360 type friend on me, right?
Well, that wasn't really your friend. She
Well,
really
well,
truly
no,
wasn't
I
your
I
friend.
know that, but I'm glad you pointed it out. But I still
Right.
wanted to, because I loved her as a sister, because we had been through some life together. But I noticed that she started throwing, using it as a weapon. That's what I want to say. She started using her master, but it started overnight. Like when she had her bachelor's, because now we're even. But when she got her master's, then it became a weapon, and then she got a second
So,
master's and she had two weapons. So,
but
yeah,
let me tell you something now, in particular, right now during this cold winter. Me and my wife had a gentleman. He did everything in our house. Uh, seriously tradesman, electrician, plumber,
Mm-hmm.
but he passed, and we think about him all the time. So the whole thing, yes, I get it. We put too much emphasis on maybe getting a degree. The word, you know what, is being knowledgeable
Right.
right.
and
Right.
attaining skills. And
Hmm.
then you meet with someone, it lasts. But then you meet with someone, it's not, well, you have your master, I have mine. No. What are your values? Do you want to raise a family
That's
together?
right.
I mean, what is your commitment to our community? So at the end of the day, that was that's what becomes most important. Not those things. So, but yeah, really appreciate the show. You all keep it up. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so
And
much.
I want
Yeah.
to follow up on that because
Hmm.
I would never say, discredit, education
Well,
because
you didn't say it.
you
Yeah.
know, one of the things I found amazing, like when I was working on my doctorate and the amount of papers and that I had to write, and amount of books that I had to read to write those papers, and the amount of research that it took for me to write those papers. Some of this stuff was almost ridiculous. But what it did was it kept me learning and researching and digging for information. And it causes you to grow in knowledge, right? So my thing is I would never lead with my education and experiences, but it's something that I'm bringing to the table when the conversation comes up. This is what I'm bringing to the table as a benefit to us. It's not for the sake of, putting myself above someone or to make myself seem to be better than someone. But when you look at higher education, let's say you have a master's in or bachelor's or master's in education or doctorate in even education. Let's say I have a doctorate in healthcare. That those two forms of education, once we meet each other and we decide, hey, this would be a great relationship, now we're actually bringing something to the table because I believe with education, it gives you the opportunity to pass knowledge on to someone else with less knowledge. It's not so much to say that you're better than that person, but it's like it's saying that look, this is where I can be helpful. This is where I can be knowledgeable because this is the area of expertise that I have. Like you said, the caller was talking about the trades. When you're talking about plumbing, carpentry, being an electrician, this is man, that's valuable stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I took those trades when I was in high school. When the trades was in high school, I still use auto mechanics. I still use the house wiring. I still use the welding. The plumbing. I still use those tools, and they've saved me thousands of dollars. But these are the things that we bring to the table, and when we're talking about dating and relationships, and people, we got to get this. When we're talking about dating and relationships, you got to ask yourself, and with what I'm bringing to the table, am I an asset or a liability? And
Well,
we have to be honest about that.
yeah, I don't think a lot of women are raised even, or I shouldn't say a lot of women. I don't think that we understand or have been taught intentionally to discover what it is you bring. I think when I was in my 20s, I remember having these powwow conversations with my girlfriends, and we talked about all the things we wanted in a man. And when I did that, I was like, okay, my list got so long, and I was like, wait a minute, what can I offer?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I had to really do some self reflecting and saying, what can I bring to a relationship? And once you know your value,
Mm-hmm.
you walk differently. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Mm-hmm.
not about, okay, I have that. Because at that time I was doing really well financially. So,
Right. Right.
but it wasn't that because I felt like maybe I can bring something to elevate my mate. What can I do to elevate my mate? And that's what I came up with. And that,
That's a title.
yeah, I'll go ahead and write it down. But if I couldn't do that, then I shouldn't be dating. And I remember feeling that way,
Yeah.
and it turned the whole dynamic. Oh, we've got another comment.
Mm.
Let's see what it says. It says a lot. It says that's why I went for the MFA. Kept me in theater, film, radio, and allows me to teach all for the business that I run, or at least hope to run. Those
Mhm.
doctoral programs were a lot of reading. I'd rather write a play or a film. I know that's right. I'd rather, because it's a lot of work. That's why I stopped where I did. Let's see. Lisa Ling said, elevate my mate. Yeah,
Oh shoot, I
congratulations.
like that title. Write that down.
I just said that. That she's saying what I said. I
Oh,
said
I like
elevate
it
my
again
mate.
then. But you know what though?
Wait,
Go ahead.
please.
Go ahead.
I want to give a shout out to Lisa Ling. Congratulations on your nuptials. She recently got married. It's been less than a year.
Ooh,
Yeah. So
congratulations.
congratulations to her and her husband. And they are having a ball. I see their pictures all the time. So not they're watching them have fun makes me smile. Now watching Al B. Sure and Lu-
Oh goodness.
I know I'm still talking
Oh
about
my
Al B.
god.
Sure. I'm still a little jelly. I'm a little jelly. But go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Um, I want to I want to retouch on this elevate my mate thing because you know I don't want any of our conversations to sound like well we're targeting women because I can see I'm okay with I'm always okay with trying to put myself in the other person's shoes or
Hmm.
the other woman's pumps,
Uh,
just to try to see
you
from the female perspective, right?
really
And not not I'm trying to look from y'all, or let me just put your flats. Um
from our lens?
right,
Okay,
from your
gotcha.
lens. And I, you know, and I'm not knocking the fellas at all, but sometimes in many cases you can open a book and start teaching yourself, right? Because this is what I learned when we go into this is what if you've never pursued, this is for anybody. If you've never pursued higher education, right? If you've never pursued it, if you go to the library, if you pick a subject matter that you're interested in and you go to the library or Barnes and Nobles or wherever you can find those materials, those tutorials, right? And you study, get some notebooks and you write down everything and study it and write out papers on what you're studying and the different forms and ways you can apply certain tasks that you're studying, right?
Hmm.
It equates to a bachelor's or a doctor because in higher education you're doing a lot of research unless it's like something where you got to do clinical skills and stuff like that. There are things like if let's say you're talking about carpentry, right? You can practice that. You can go study it, learn it, go home, practice and apply. These are things you can do like if but outside of something where you can injure someone or hurt someone or make yourself legally liable. Other than that, yeah, I would say go to school, but you can go out and apply these things and become proficient in it and just develop a circle of people who are skilled in those particular areas and work as an apprentice. But when you do all that reading, studying, and writing on your own, it equates to what would be considered a bachelor's or doctorate, depending on how many years you study that particular craft.
Well, I see your point. I think it can equate, but it's not as respected.
Well,
So
it's not.
because
Mhm.
when you go to school, it's guided studying. You it's there's a curriculum obviously, and there's an outline. So there are parameters, and even though you're held within those parameters,
Mm,
you're encouraged, depending on what university you went to go outside of those parameters. If you don't go outside of those parameters, then shame on you. You're just an educated dummy,
well,
in my opinion.
uh-huh.
But you should always go
Yeah.
outside those parameters because those are just that's just the formalities of
Well, I,
education.
I'm gonna tell you where I kind of disagree a bit. I in my experience and listening to a lot of my mentors talk about relationships and dating and marriage, women are and men, we know this because we've seen it. Women really are very simple creatures. I think sometimes we make them out to be difficult. But if you go into a relationship with a woman and you have a skill or a level of knowledge
Hmm.
in something that brings benefit to the relationship,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's respectable.
Wait, you said
For
we were. You said
example,
you said we are simple.
I believe you're very simple. And I say that
Yeah.
because it I don't believe, yeah, okay, granted in the beginning maybe you're like, what, you don't have you don't have a bachelor's? Yeah, I've heard those things. You haven't gotten your how come you haven't gotten your bachelor's? How come you haven't? I've heard this before. But every time I've come to every relationship that I've had, when I've changed brakes, changed oil, alternators, spark plugs, I've done tune-ups, I've knocked out walls and put walls up.
Put in
That
sinks,
was appreciation.
fix doors.
There was the wow. There was the talent, the recognition that I would have gotten from having a master's or a bachelor's. That skill, that knowledge of being able to solve a problem. And that's basically what an education is. Education is developing a person's skill set to solve a problem.
Clearly.
Yeah,
But
that's what it is.
but now if we have a situation where someone um is using that accomplishment as leverage, are they wrong? Are they wrong for using their accomplishments as leverage? Because
Well,
if you think
yeah,
about it, anyone who is in any field has a portfolio, so to speak. So let's say like my marketing company, I build websites. The first thing someone's going to ask me is, can I see some of your work? So, do I spare them from asking me the question by leading with showing them the work that I've done, name dropping, talking about the work that I've done, the accounts that I've closed, the success I've had with those particular accounts? Or do I let them ask me, can I see your work? So, for me, I'll just tell you what I do. I talk about my business, what I do at Ray Consulting,
mm,
and then I'll talk, but I don't lead with anything outside of that because our conversation is strictly about what I can do for them at Ray Consulting. They don't care about anything else. LaDonna, they don't care about you're a mother of four, you're divorced, you went to college. They don't care about any of those things except can you do the work? So I lead with listening.
mhm,
And based on the person that I'm talking to, if they want to see my portfolio, then I got to be ready to show it to them so that they can see that I can do the work. So when you are coming into a possible relationship, I'm going back to that. Why am I? You're leading with the wrong thing. So
well,
are you
yeah,
where why aren't you leading with you can cook, you can balance a checkbook, you can save money, you know how to invest, you know your credit score is partnership worthy. Why is it that we cannot lead with what it would take to have a thriving and successful relationship versus the accomplishments that we have made on our own individually? That has nothing to do with the relationship like what you said earlier.
mhm, absolutely. I I guess, moving forward, we would have to have conversations on, what should we lead with
Mm.
when pursuing a relationship.
Better lead with
Um,
baking that cake.
right. And like I said before, are you an asset or liability when going into a relationship? What are you? Because if we, because they're in in a relationship and in a marriage, there is the business side. Outside of all the intimacy part and the intimacy and the fun and stuff like that, there comes the business side, and we tend to forget that part.
Mhm.
Or sometimes we tend to avoid it, or act like it doesn't exist, but it's always there. There's the business side. So now we got to come back. Now we got, at some point, we got to look at the skills that we have, that's going to generate revenue or save revenue. So you have to, at some point you have to be bringing something to the picnic, right?
That's right.
You can't always show up with a to-go plate
Well, you gotta bring the
to a
picnic
relationship.
basket and at
Yeah,
least bring
yeah.
the blanket. But I want
You
to
got to
remind,
something. Bring the Kool Aid
yeah.
or the
Hold on
something.
now. Let me slide in.
Go ahead.
Dang.
Go ahead.
Guys, we're going to close out in about 15 minutes, but I want to give you guys a phone number in case you want to call live. That's right, you're watching it live. So we can take your phone numbers. That's 312 357 5141. I had to look at the number just in case you want to get your comments in before we close out it in about 15 minutes, guys. Because I hope you're keeping warm out there. Because in order for us to do this, we need all of you that are tuning in, tapping in, and
Hmm.
commenting and sharing. So thank you so much. Please continue, Mr. Lorenzo.
Hey, I was saying, uh, if this is you, don't do it. If it's not you, don't allow it. Don't allow people to show up, in your life with
Mm,
nothing but a to-go plate.
hmm.
Because that's what some people do. What are you bringing to the picnic? If you ain't if a person ain't bringing a dish, they can't come.
Right.
What are you bringing?
And should a man show up at your door empty handed? Where did I? Well, that's next week's topic, right? I'll never forget. My father used to say that. He was like, a man should never show up at your door empty handed. So, ladies, what do you bring to the table? Men, what do you bring to the door?
Mm-hmm.
Bring a loaf of bread or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't come empty handed. Yeah, I think it's very encouraging and exciting to see when someone was thinking of you on the way or along the way and wanted to show you that their thoughts are with you. So as a woman I'm not in the dating pool, but when I have been in the dating pool, it was very interesting. But I'll tell you what kind of woman I was in the dating pool.
Uh-oh.
I I didn't believe in going out to dinner. I didn't want the first date to be at a dinner. For some reason, men tend to lead with that. They lead, and it's nothing wrong with it. Don't look, I'm a special kind of fool, okay? I don't I don't want to be mesmerized or distracted by a restaurant that is so fantastic that I can't focus on the conversation we're having. What I did do was I would counter their offer and say, let's just meet up at, and I'd pick some smoothie place or some place to have a cup of lemonade because I love lemonade or ice cream because I love ice cream. And they were very shocked. They thought there was something to it. It wasn't. What it was is I wanted to get an opportunity to meet and get to know them. I can't get to know you at a movie theater because if you talk, I'm gonna get mad and you're gonna be off the list. I can't get to know you at a bar. I can't. It's too loud. I can't hear in noisy situations. I need to sit one to one, have a conversation, depending on the weather, and not be distracted by anything other than our conversation. So that's the type of woman I was. Now, what type of questions did I ask? Wow. I just like having conversations. I don't like the you couldn't tell at the beginning of this show. I sounded like I was interviewing you, Lorenzo,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't mean to. My style is usually conversation. Men, here's a little secret if you didn't already crack the code. Women love it when you ask about them. We love it when so, you're a mom. You're a mom. Tell me about your children. And if she lights up, she will light up if she were to have your children. But if she's like, man, I couldn't wait to drop them little bastards off, then that's the type of baby mama you're gonna have. Ask her about what it is she does for a living, but don't ask in a way where you sound like you're calculating. Just say, so what do you do? What do you do for work? And if she says, I'm a banker, investment banker, ask questions. Ooh, I've been thinking about investing. You think you can give me some tips? I mean, and don't be phony with it. Actually care. You have to understand that when because these are some tips I was given about a man. Always praise them on their job, no matter what that job is. And I learned that from my father. My father started off at the steel mill as a janitor. But he made the money, but being a janitor, it wasn't called what is it called? Some
Uh,
custodial engineer.
they didn't turn it into something now. I
Oh,
think
it's
now you
something
got to
else.
even have a certificate
You
or
got to be certified,
yeah,
right?
you got to be have some type of education in that now.
Yeah, no, my dad started at age, I think he was 23 years old, if I'm not
Mm.
mistaken. He may have been 25. But um he told me, always respect a man's job. And I don't have a problem with that because I respect that the man has one. So, but if you go out with a woman, don't lead with your money. Don't women, don't lead with your education that you don't need a man. Don't lead with acting like you don't really want to be in a relationship. Don't do that. Having that spirit of resistance is foul. Why are we here if you don't really want to date? Don't do that. And
uh,
and don't try to get the most out of the least. You have the least amount of time with this person. First date, you ordering lobster. I don't that says a lot about what's going on there. It's transactional. It really is. Some people are on the dating apps just to go out on dates. Okay?
hey, and if you out there to play, just lead with it.
Just leave with that.
Because if you ain't trying to date, and I'm looking at why are we here, then that only leaves one other direction we going. I'm like, let us let me know. We both might be game for it.
Jesus.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with some truth.
No, ain't nothing wrong with truth. No, not at all. But I know that there's a lot of people that feel like they can't be truthful. Otherwise, you won't like them. And I think it's because everything is a numbers game. If you are 100% yourself, then the ones that like you for real, and the ones that don't waste your time. So always remember those things. I think that's those are things you lead with, in my opinion. I think I remember when I was dating and I was honest about having multiple people that I was dating. Now, what is your definition of dating? I'm talking about going out on dates. I'm not talking about bed buddies. But even if I was grown. But my point is, I was talking about going out on dates, getting to know the people that I was with, and kind of making a decision from there, being available for the person that I wanted to be available for. And when I was honest about it, men respected that. They really did. They were like, "Oh, so what you doing this weekend?" "Well, I'm supposed to go out with Dre." For real? You seeing? Yeah. We not in a relate. What you thought? So that and then they respected it. It's like, you know what, because I'm going out with so and so. Oh, for real? What's she like? And I'm that kind of girl. I'm like homie, lover, friend. I want to know. I'm weird like that. But I think the more honest we are, instead of leading with our representatives, which people are accused of quite often, you'll have more success rate in your relationship because now you can let your hair down at the beginning and be yourself. I'm at a point in my life where I'm only going to be free. I'm going to be myself no matter where I am. I can sit across from the president, the CEO, the janitor. I'm going to be the same no matter what.
And you should. And you should. I just lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. What I was gonna say was I was looking at in the chat and I saw that elevate my mate thing and what I did want to say was this. And this again, and this is to celebrate people with higher education. Um, the beautiful thing about having a higher education and having someone who doesn't meet the educational level that you may have is many men do have a talent and a skill and a drive to go somewhere. Sometimes And women have done this throughout the ages. You'll find men who or women who have turned men's life around based on what they have been able to do, based on how much that man wanted that woman. He has changed his life. He has given up drugs. He has given up a life of crime. He has done. She has changed. Women have changed men's lives. So I think if you are someone with higher education and you're in a situation where you care about a particular person, is and you want to see them excel, because that's the beauty of partnership, is lifting each other up, uh, so that you both are successful, is this. The one thing about education is you know how to utilize the tool of research. So when you're dating someone who may have ambition, because you always have men who are saying, "Hey, I'm trying to do this. This is what I want to do, and I want to do this." But in many cases, they may not know how to do it. They may not know how to research something, and that could be because they may not have the tools that you have. So this is where that term, I think, elevate my mate, plays some value. You can help. First of all, I would say look at the potential. What is it that they're trying to do? Is this something that's accomplishable? And are they an action taker? Because action takers are money makers. Because you can have a dream, but without action, that's all it
It's
is.
just an idea.
Yeah, it's just an idea. So I would be intentional as that that spouse, or that potential spouse, or that mate, on the drive of that person that you're with. If they have a reachable dream or idea or goal that they're trying to accomplish, that elevates your mate, on helping them get there, is great. And I know sometimes people don't want to do. They say, "Oh well, the last two men I helped, I did all this for them, and they left." You know, man, that's life.
Right. It's not like you're
I
gonna
mean,
you it's
that's
not like you're gonna
life.
run out of helpings.
The beautiful thing about that is that I
Right?
learned, at least I did something good for someone. I helped them get somewhere. But I think sometimes when things don't work out, we want somebody to just fail, and we want their castle to the kingdom to just crumble after that because of whatever. But if if you're with someone and you have that higher education, you have something. And if someone helps you, if you're with someone that's willing to take the time to do that for you, and she's a keeper, or he's a keeper.
All right. Well, this conversation was real and it was real necessary. And clearly not finished. So, if someone hit you tonight, if you nodded, side-eyed, laughed, or felt personally attacked in a healing way, that cue is for you to stay connected.
Mm,
Yeah. There you go. Elevate your mate.
yes.
And hopefully they're saying the same thing. Because I'm telling you, when I was in my early 20s, I have lived my life just that way. If I can't elevate my mate, I can't be with them.
Yes.
But go ahead and hit the subscribe button right now on the LaDonna Ray Show. Subscribe, subscribe. I want to see those numbers go up. And I want you to tell people to subscribe and like this video. Drop your thoughts in the comments because this dialogue doesn't end when the stream does. And don't disappear on us. All right. Catch us tomorrow on the Wake
Yes.
Up Show Chicago on WVON 1690 AM, rocking with Larry Ivory, who is the CEO and president of the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce. Same energy, just toned down a bit, but we're going to be talking about black businesses. And then Monday, tap back in with me on WVON 1690 AM for the afternoon show alongside with Ativa Buchanan. We keep the conversations honest, grown, and moving the culture forward. Success doesn't silence you, and it shouldn't. Love shouldn't require you to shrink. And conversations like this, we're just getting started. We'll see you in the morning and again on Monday. Good night, everybody.
Good
Don't
night,
forget to
peace and love.
subscribe. Yeah.
And elevate your mate, especially if they don't show up with just a to go plate.
Uh, you know what? You trying to rap. Okay. We're gonna we
Peace
gonna
and love, y'all.
we're gonna get you some rapping bars.